the Oscar goes to...
I'm happy with that. Got goosebumps. The right films won. Easy Riders, welcome to the Real Tours YouTube channel, and the 93rd Academy Awards have just come to the conclusion, and it's currently 5:30 in the morning here UK time, and I'm just going to whiz through everything that's happened over the last 4 hours during this year's Oscars. Obviously everything's been a bit different with COVID going on. The location was different. It took place in Union Station, which is in Los Angeles, as opposed to the Dolby Theatre where it usually takes place on Hollywood Boulevard. And not only that as well, similar to last year, there was no set host, but there was a variety of different people giving different awards rather than just being one designated host. And they flew through the awards this year. Usually there's a big breakdown where you get different presenters coming out and doing extended comedic monologues and things. There was none of that. We had the opening monologue from Regina King, which was really well done, and then after that it was basically just award after award after award, apart from one or two little moments of definite comedy, but we'll talk about those a little bit later on. So the awards were directed by Steven Soderbergh this year, and I'd say overall it was a successful ceremony. In terms of who the awards went to, there was a few surprises in there. There was a few big hitters that missed out, but there wasn't one clear winner. Everything was sort of grouped together and the awards were shared out nicely between a lot of the nominees. However, there was a few things actually to do with the running order of the ceremony that I wasn't a big fan of, but we'll talk more about that later. But anyway, shall we crack straight on with who won what, when, where, and why? The first award of the night was Best Original Screenplay, and it was won by Emerald Fennell for Promising Young Woman, and it was up against stiff competition from the likes of Aaron Sorkin, who wrote the script for The Trial of the Chicago 7, and there was also Minari, and Judas and the Black Messiah was up there, but Emerald Fennell took home the top prize. This was very much expected, as she'd already won this award at various other ceremonies in awards season. However, Promising Young Woman is a film that has very much split audiences and critics alike. If you haven't seen it before, I would definitely recommend watching it because it's proved to be somewhat a very Marmite film. People are very split over the thoughts of it. I personally thought it was fantastic. It took me back to those genre and revenge flicks of the 1970s. Quite a lot of similarities in there to things like Joker as well, which was quite successful last year at the Oscars. There's some tremendous performances in there. I thought the direction from Emerald Fennell was fantastic. Not only was it great direction, but the fact that she wrote the screenplay as well. This is her debut feature film, and I thought it was superb. I watched it without knowing anything about it. I didn't even know the genre. All I knew that Carey Mulligan was in it, and I was blown away by it. And if you can watch it without knowing anything else, that is how I would recommend you best go to this film. Just be warned, you will be shocked at things that take place in it. It's really tremendous. Let me know how you find it if you haven't seen it yet, or if you have seen it, let me know in the comments below, because it's a film that brings up a lot of debate and discussion, and I would love to talk to more people about this film. So straight after Best Original Screenplay, we went straight into Best Adapted Screenplay. But the award here went to The Father, which was co-written by Christopher Hampton and Florian Zeller. And again, if you haven't seen The Father yet, I watched it a couple of days ago, and it's one of those films that has stayed with me. What I thought was fantastic about it is when you watch it, you can very much visualize it as a stage play, which is what it originated from. However, it didn't fall into those pitfalls that a lot of stage plays that are then converted into cinema fall into, where it basically just looks like someone's holding a camera as actors are performing it on a stage. It's very much been adapted to screen successfully, and some of the visuals in it translated fantastically. It's really heartbreaking, it's devastating, and it's well worth a watch, and it was a very, very worthy winner of this. Again, up against some great competition. Nomadland was one of the big favourites for this, but it was taken by The Father, and it was definitely well earned. The third award of the night was Best International Feature, and I had absolutely everything crossed that this particular film was going to win, and it was Another Round, which was directed by Thomas Winterberg. I only watched Another Round hours before the actual Oscars ceremony took place, and I was completely blown away by it. It tells the story of 4 friends who are all teachers in this same school in Denmark, and they are all stuck in a rut in their individual lives. As they're having a celebration for one of their friends' 40th birthdays, they talk about how one particular philosopher said that humans are all born with a 0.5 deficit on blood alcohol levels, and that they should drink daily to try and up this, to try and balance that out. And they start drinking alcohol and it gives them a boost in their everyday life. And this pact that they come up with for scientific purposes is how they say they're going to do this, to write papers and theses about it later on. It almost starts as a bit of an American Pie thing, where you've got the pact of the friends, and then it links into other films as well, where you've got this nostalgic look back at youth, because they're dealing with students back at the age that they wish they were. So there's this reminiscence of youth, similar to things like T2 Train Spotting, and the last 5 minutes of it are just spectacular. Like, one of the most surprising endings of a film that I've seen in a long time, that, you know, has definitely got a debt to things like Bollywood cinema. That might sound ridiculous, but honestly, I love this film so much. Hopefully you like it too if you haven't seen it yet, or if you did see it, again, let's chat about it in the comments, because I thought it was really, really great. But Thomas Winterberg, the director, who was also up for Best Director as well, he gave one of the most heartwarming speeches of the Oscars. He was speaking about how his daughter Ida passed away a couple of days into filming, and she was supposed to have a minor role in the film. And you could see just how touched he was, and he mentioned that she was somewhere in the room helping all of this take place, because it was such an unlikely victory for them. And again, really touching, really wonderful moment for both him and everyone associated with this film. Definitely recommend watching it, and I'm so glad that this won as well. And then the fourth award of the night was another big one. It was Best Supporting Actor, and again, tough competition in this one. You've got the likes of Sacha Baron Cohen for The Trial of Chicago 7. You also have Lakeith Stanfield for Judas and the Black Messiah. However, the award was taken home by the favourite, also from Judas and the Black Messiah, and it was Daniel Kaluuya in the role of Fred Hampton. I was so made up when he actually won this, because Daniel Kaluuya, for British audiences, started off in things like Harry and Paul, the Harry Enfield sketch show, and he was in Skins. And to see someone go from that to being Oscar royalty that's one of the finest like trajectories in acting that you can have. And it was just so wonderful. You could see how much it meant to him. His acceptance speech was fantastic. He had his mum, who was based in London, who was there via video link that it kept cutting back to as well. And you know, that Oscar is going back to Camden, and it's a fantastic victory, and he is a top talent. And you could very much see this being the first of a couple of Oscars which he may add later in his career as well. The next major award that was up for grabs was Best Director, and this was one that there was a lot of change about who was the favourite. You had things like Chloé Zhao for Nomadland, then you had Emerald Fennell, who'd already won, obviously, for Best Original Screenplay. David Fincher's high up in the pecking order of Hollywood, and Hollywood do love films about themselves, so you could have thought he could have got it for Mank, and then also Lee Isaac Chung for Minari, which again is a superb film. But the top award here went to Chloé Zhao, and this was such a wonderful award for her to win. She became the second woman in history to win Best Director, after Catherine Bigelow won it a couple of years ago. And Nomadland is wonderful. If people haven't seen it before, it does that perfect thing where it blends documentary with fictional cinema. A lot of the cast in it are real life nomads, and it sort of blends that, and Frances McDormand's performance is tonally perfect. I thought that Nomadland was just executed perfectly. It had this wonderful Western feel. It had vibes similar to stuff like Wim Wenders' Paris, Texas, but then it had this road movie feel to it as well, which just blended it in to almost a neo-Western, and it's tremendous cinema. One of the big things that's been a shame about the Oscars this year is that a lot of the films haven't been shown in cinemas. It's been a lot of streaming services at home, or if people have been able to get screeners to see them, which is how I've seen a lot of them. Nomadland is the one out of all of them that I would be most excited to go and see on a big screen, and if I'm able to do that as soon as the cinemas open, that is the one that I want to see most. If you haven't seen Nomadland yet, it does come to Disney Plus to stream in a couple of days in the UK. If you can hold off and wait until you can see it on the big screen, I would definitely recommend it. I will be first in line to go and do that as soon as possible. So later in the ceremony we had Best Supporting Actress. Glenn Close was going for her 8th nomination, still yet to ever win. And then there was newcomers like Maria Baklova for her just incredible performance in Borat's subsequent movie, which still has some of the most shocking moments of cinema I can think of in a long time. A well-earned nomination, but unfortunately she didn't win. And then the likes of Olivia Colman, who won a couple of years ago for The Favourite, was going for her second Oscar. Amanda Seyfried was nominated for Mank, but the winner was Youn Yuh-jung for Minari. Minari tells the story of an American Korean family who moved to Arkansas in the middle of the 80s. It's Reagan's America. Their plan is to start a farm growing Korean vegetables and then to market this to all of the 30,000 Korean immigrants who are traveling over to live in America every single year. And it shows you the ups and downs of them trying to take on this task. Now, the character that Youn plays is the grandmother who stayed in Korea but then comes over to help the family in terms of looking after the children while the parents are out working. We've seen this type of character in similar films and they can always be quite underwritten and thrown away. However, here there's some real meat to get your teeth into as an actor and a performer, and she really does this. It's a fantastic part, and there's a moment about 2/3 of the way through the film where it will kind of just get you right in the feels. It's a big sucker punch and it's tremendously executed. What I also loved as well is when she was up accepting the award, it was presented by Brad Pitt and there was real back and forth between them and there was definite flirtation. And I would just love to see those two cast against each other in a film. I don't know what film that would be, I don't know how it would work, but someone needs to get those together. If it's a sitcom or just anything, please get Brad Pitt and Youn Yuh-jung together for whatever project would be viable. Now, as soon as the Oscars are finished, the first thing that everyone asks is what won Best Picture. It's the most prestigious award, it's the one that always goes last. However, for some reason this year, they had it third from the end, and they had the two Actor and Actress Awards following it. Just to have that shifted up a few places in the running order just seemed like such a peculiar choice. And what was quite interesting was there was a lot of word going around Twitter and then the British coverage as well, that saying in the bookies, the Trial of the Chicago 7 had been boosted all the way up to second favourite, and there was a lot of people saying that there was going to be split votes between Nomadland and a few of the others such as Judas and the Black Messiah, and Trial of the Chicago 7 was going to sweep in and take it at the last minute. And I really didn't want this to happen because I thought out of the 8 films that were nominated, the Trial of the Chicago 7 was the weakest of them. Luckily, for me anyway, this didn't happen, so Nomadland won the top prize of Best Picture, and I think out of the 8 of them, it's the one that I was rooting for most. It's such a genuine, honest picture, and there's some real heart and warmth in there as well, and I've already mentioned before, but I can't wait to see it on the big screen. But I think everything about it just fits together, and when you watch it, it's almost like watching a well-oiled machine where just everything works in synchronization together. It's a film that will affect you, it'll give you goosebumps, it'll have you crying, it'll have you laughing at different points as well. There's some fantastic performances in there, and that mixing of, you know, real life people essentially playing fictionalized versions of themselves along with actors just gives it that perfect blend, and it's a great American road film that is very much a worthy winner of Best Picture. It's just a shame that it wasn't the final note of the award ceremony. But going straight from this, we went into the penultimate award, which was Best Actress. And again, stiff competition here. The two frontrunners were Frances McDormand for Nomadland, and then also Carey Mulligan for Promising Young Woman. There was also a lot of talk about Viola Davis for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and then also Andra Day for The United States versus Billie Holiday, and then of course the fantastic Vanessa Kirby for Pieces of a Woman, which is a career best performance and again would have been well worthy of winning. However, third time winner Frances McDormand. She'd already won for Fargo back in the 90s, quite recently for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and again, Nomadland, she was on there. And you know, this is so well deserved. I think she's incredible in it. And there's so many moments where it's just silence and it's just looking upon her face and she can just tell you exactly what's going on just through a little glance. Now, to win 3 Oscars is a monumental achievement. There's only a handful of people who've done that. You look at the likes of Meryl Streep, Jack Nicholson, Daniel Day-Lewis, Walter Brennan, Katharine Hepburn. What I loved about her performance in Nomadland was just how many moments of stillness there were that gives away so much about her character. There is moments when we very much just see her face, and her face fills the screen and you can just see everything that's going on in terms of the emotion that she's holding within herself and then that she's revealing as well. Again, I can't go into it too much because I don't want to give away plot spoilers if you haven't seen it yet, but it's a really transcendent performance and I can't wait for you to see it if you haven't seen it yet. And then finally, the last award of the evening was Best Actor. The frontrunner for this was Chadwick Boseman for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Then after that, we also had the likes of Anthony Hopkins was nominated, who'd previously won for The Silence of the Lambs back in 1991. Then Gary Oldman was looking for his second Oscar for starring in Mank, Stephen Yeun for Minari, and then of course Riz Ahmed for Sound of Metal. I personally felt that this was going to be one of the most difficult ones to call in advance. A lot of people were saying that Chadwick Boseman was going to win it posthumously. However, the award went to Anthony Hopkins, who became the eldest ever recipient of a Best Actor Oscar. He's 83 years old. He's taken that record away from Henry Fonda, who won for On Golden Pond all the way back in 1981 when he was 76 years old. So there's a 7-year difference between those. It's always difficult with who's going to win this because Chadwick Boseman was fantastic in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Some of those monologues were tremendous. But Anthony Hopkins, nothing can be taken away from how staggering he is in this film. I think it's a career best performance. And to say that when you look at the content of films that he's had in the past as well, things like The Remains of the Day, The Elephant Man, obviously he's previously won an award for playing Hannibal Lecter in The Silence of the Lambs. So many incredibly iconic performances, but this is the one that I think he pulls out all the stops for. It's a film that will stay with you, and I watched it days ago now and I'm still thinking about it and can't get it out of my mind. The strange thing was Anthony Hopkins wasn't there. He wasn't in Los Angeles to accept the award. Not only that, he wasn't actually on a video link to accept it at all. We just got a still photograph of him, and it was Joaquin Phoenix who was presenting this award, and he just said he was accepting it on behalf of the Academy, and that was it. And to not have the Best Picture as the final one, knowing that Anthony Hopkins wasn't going to be there to accept it, it ended the ceremony in such a whimper and such an anticlimactic moment that it's one of the most surreal endings of any award ceremony I've ever seen. Not just Oscars or BAFTAs or the Brit Awards or anything, or even your five-a-side Sunday League team. Do you know what I mean? It was such a strange ending of nothingness. And that just left a sour taste at the end of the whole awards. For a lot of the correct decisions were made in terms of who won what awards, and you know, there's a lot of great films which have been nominated this year, but to just end with someone who wasn't even there to accept the award or have anyone accept it on their behalf was such a peculiar ending, and it sort of left a bit of a bad taste. Very, very odd decision, but these are strange times we are living in, so there we go. But Anthony Hopkins, well deserved. Obviously there was plenty of other awards that I haven't discussed as well, things like costume, hair and makeup, and then visual effects and loads more. If you want to know what they are as well, you can see those floating about now with who won what. But in terms of the league table of the most awards won, Nomadland was the front runner with 3 awards, and then all equally placed with 2 was Judas and the Black Messiah, The Father, Soul, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Mank, and Sound of Metal. And then of the other big hitters, with 1 award each, was Promising Young Woman and Minari as well. So there we go. Are you happy with how the awards went this year? Do you think the right choices were made, or do you think other films and actors should have won? Let me know in the comments below. As always, thanks so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, then you can subscribe to the channel, and please click the thumbs up and ring the bell for notifications for future videos. I will see you at the 94th Academy Awards for an instant awards reaction, and there'll be plenty more videos before then as well. Thanks a lot, keep it real, and I'll see you soon. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more film content. And if you would like to join us for a film location walking tour of Liverpool, you can do so by booking online at realtours.co.uk.